Shri Rajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukhaswarobhaya Swamine Tapaharine Swamine Tapaharine. So, almost after 1 month we are meeting here. Last time we had started Swami Vivekananda's lecture at Colombo, the mission of the Vedanta. This is one of the lectures, one of the very popular lectures, important lectures among the lectures from Colombo to Almora. So the series of lectures that Swamiji delivered from Colombo onwards on his journey towards northern India. So all those lectures are compiled in one book, one place, one collection, which is called Lectures from Colombo to Almora. And this is what our every time we discuss some part of those lectures serially. So we were looking at the mission of the Vedanta lecture, which was delivered at Kumbhakonam. And in that lecture, some portion of it we had covered last time. In that lecture we saw what Swamiji was telling to the Hindus gathered to welcome him. So in response to their address of welcome, Swamiji is giving this lecture. So as usual, wherever Swamiji went in India on his return from the West, he was welcomed by large number of devotees, rather Hindus, admirers, followers, who were eagerly looking forward to seeing him on their own soil, who were eagerly looking forward to see the triumphant Hindu monk, who in their own country was a mendicant, was a wandering monk with a begging bowl. But such a monk had conquered the Western world, so to speak, with what? With his religion, with the religion of our India. And that is why they were very much enthused and they were very much inspired to welcome him wherever he went. And wherever he went, they used to shower their praise on Swamiji. And in response, Swamiji would always decline to accept the eligibility or to claim the fitness to accept their praise. He used to always humbly and politely refuse to accept that praise, and he used to offer that praise to his own people of India. And in Tamil Nadu especially, he used to praise the Raja and Raja of Ramnath, who had encouraged him to go to the West. So these kinds of things we had seen last time. So how Swamiji expresses. And he always also pays his gratitude in a way to the people of Madras. And then he talks about how he had, in response to their kind address, the gathering that in praise of him, they had gathered in Madras and they had sent a letter of appreciation to in America when he was in America. So Swamiji says, in that response to that address, he had mentioned that the Indian people are, even the peasants of India, are aware of spirituality, aware of religion, and how this is the theme of our race. This is the very pulse of our race. So Swamiji says every race has a major is an important interest in a particular thing. So our people of India are interested to gather the information about religion and spirituality. In other races, they are interested in science. Some other race, it is interested in politics. But Swamiji says in India, Indian races are interested in religion and spirituality. So that is what he praised about a race. And then he told that how we cannot give up what is our pulse, what is our very nature. A tree cannot be uprooted from one soil and transferred into another soil. Swamiji had given this example. Another example he gave, that the Ganga, which is flowing from the Himalayas down to the ocean, cannot be flown reverse. The stream of Ganga, the waters of Ganga cannot flow in a reverse direction. The same way, our characteristic course of life is religious life, and we have no other purpose to serve that we had discussed. Then Swamiji compared it with the Western races. He told the Western races, what is their idea of God? Their idea of God is a provider, a facilitator. How they recognize God is that God is a provider. He helps us to reach our ideals. What are our ideals? Our ideals are political ideals, our ideals are social improvement, and so on. So these kinds of external ideals we have, worldly ideals. But our God is just a helper. We don't want God apart from helping us into reaching material development, material comfort, and advancement, social advancement, and political advancement. We want God as a guide and helper. But Swamiji says that is what they think. But by thinking that, what they did, they forced their idea of God into other nations, and they tyrannized those nations, and they ruined other races. They conducted massacres, bloodshed in other nations for forcing this idea. And they used to tell those races that you don't have a muscle power. You Indians, you Hindus, don't have a muscular strength. That is why you are like this. That is what they are resisting. So we are the conquerors. We have muscular strength. That is what their argument, Swamiji says. But if Swamiji says, that is what the very strong strength of our Hindus, that we are not relying upon the muscular strength. Our strength, our idea of religion is that not the world-conquering, material development or socially developing religion. Our idea of God is that God is our goal. God is not our provider. We want to become God. We don't want to use God. That is the difference. We regard this life of this world as mere 3 days. That is the difference. That we always want to go beyond the senses, beyond the space, beyond the time, and even beyond, till nothing of this world is left. And the universe itself becomes like a drop in the transcendent ocean of the glory of the soul, Swamiji says. That is what our idea is. Ours is the true religion, because it teaches that God alone is true, and this world is false and fleeting, that all your gold is but a dust, that all your power is finite, and that life itself is oftentimes an evil. Therefore it is that ours is the true religion. So Swamiji says that what is your religion? You are just using God. But we don't use God, we want to reach God, we want to see God, and we want to become God. And that is what he is saying, that what is the glorious message of Vedanta, of Hindus, is that they say, children, you are slaves of the senses. They say to the others, there is only finiteness in the senses. There is only ruination in the senses. The 3 short days of luxury here bring only ruin at last. Give it all up. Renounce the love of the senses and of the world. That is the way of religion. That is what Indian says. That renounce, give up this life of the senses, life of this matter. And through renunciation is the way to the goal, and not through enjoyment. That is what Indian religion says. And that is why Swamiji says, ours is the only true religion. Because that is the purpose of religion. to take you beyond. And how to take you beyond? Unless you renounce this, you cannot go beyond. If you say, I will have religion also, and I will have this world also, then that means yours is not a religion. Yours is a wrong idea of religion. The correct idea of religion is that which takes you beyond, which is successfully takes you on the other shore. So Swamiji says that this is what their argument. What was their argument? That you are not having the survival of the fittest. We have this. So one who is having muscle power, he is only the fittest, they say. Then he said, if your argument was true, if really you were strong to survive, then where are those strong races? Those in the history, those were very powerful races, where are they? Those who were claiming to be very strong, they are not surviving in India. So how can your argument is not correct also? If you are telling that we were weak, Hindus are weak, they don't have muscle strength, then how uninterruptedly and continuously our civilization is flowing across thousands and thousands of years. And your civilizations have been completely wiped out, eradicated, obliterated from this planet. So many civilizations came, Greeks, Romans and whatnot, Egyptians, now they are no more existing. We are only historical names of those civilizations. And they told we were the conquerors, Egyptians, Sumerians, Babylonians and so on and so forth. So Swamiji says your argument is not a correct argument. If you say that muscles only prove their strength and they help you conquer the muscle power, you have seen that history says that it is not like that. What survives, that is what we are going to talk. That Vedanta, idea of Vedanta. Then he continues that he once said that one English lady once told me that what have the Hindus done? They never even conquered a single race. That is what their accusation is. But that is the very strong point that we have, that we never go for conquering anybody. And she says our race is still vital, it is still youthful, it is still vibrant. We still have energy in our race. We have not lost it. That is what Swami says. And then he again compares. Initially, why he does this, Swamiji? Because when he is talking about the mission of the Vedanta, he has to first prove by arguments that how the Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy, what effects it has produced, how it has fructified in practical life. What is the practical benefit of following the Eastern philosophy or Eastern religion and Western philosophy or Western religion? So he is proving it, and he is proving on historical grounds, historical facts. Then he says that in the West, they are trying to solve the problem of how much a man can possess. That also we discussed last time. So they say, how much I can possess. So more and more mansions, more and more properties. That is what we also imbibe, that kind of nature, their tendencies. Grab more and more and loot people. You simply possess more and more wealth, more and more mansions, more and more properties, and become wealthy. But what is that use of that wealth after you die? Of no wealth, no use. It will be completely sold out, it will be completely destroyed. But what is Indian man's ideal? How less he can possess, unless he can survive, live. What is he says? That how little, we have the problem on how little a man can live. That is the Indian problem. The Western problem is how much a man can possess, how much more. And the Indian problem is exactly reverse. How little a man can live on. So he says that but if history has any truth in it, and if prognostications ever prove true, it must be that those who train themselves to live on the least and control themselves well will in the end gain the battle. And that those who run after enjoyment and luxury, however vigorous they may seem for the moment, they have to die and become annihilated. So those people who are trying to gain more and more territories, we see that nowadays the nations also are fighting for what? More territory. They want to conquer other nations. They want to completely dominate other nations. Why? They want to possess more. So these kinds of races have in history completely become annihilated, obliterated, died. But the race of Hindus, which says no, we are sufficient. Whatever we have is sufficient. we can manage. So this race has survived with this attitude. And then he says that how? So how he says, how the Western people are now coming to realize this futility of going behind the material development or material possessions. There are some illumined souls there. Illumined in the sense not in the ultimate illumination, but there are some awakened souls, there are some wise souls that they are coming to realize that this is futile. Our search after the material development. They are coming to understand. Few are there, though it is not like a generalized. Generally, there are political and social changes that they are seeking, but there are few souls who are coming out of that, as somebody says. This is all I am taking a revision, kind of, because we are meeting after such a long time. So I'm just some points I am revising. And then what Swami says, they are thinking now, the Western people, that the Christianity, though it may be having some good points in it, the Christianity that is with us is now not serving our purpose. That is what Swamiji says. Those Western people are coming to understand now that the Christian religion is not sufficient to satiate our hunger or fulfill our thirst for knowledge, for spiritual peace and wisdom. So they are coming to understand it. And then what is the solution? Only Vedanta can give them the solution. That there is something which is much more than what Christianity can provide. So this is also we have discussed. And then Swami talks about Dr. Baros, who was instrumental in organization of Parliament of Religions. So he had come to India also, and he had tried to preach Christianity here. He had come to Madras, he had moved around some places in India. And his singular purpose was to prove that Christianity is the only dominant religion in the world. So that was his intention. But Swamiji is countering that it is not so. Our Vedanta is the only universal religion, the best religion, he says. Why? He is going to tell about it. Why I am saying it. So why? So because he says all those Western religions are based upon some personality. So one or the other person is the originator of that religion, of that faith. Now what is the problem in that? Swami says that there are historical findings, historical researches or historical records that are now coming out that are proving those the personalities, historicity of those personalities wrong. So what will happen tomorrow if the historicity itself is not proven? If that personality on the basis of whom your entire structure is standing, suppose the very foundation of this building, tomorrow we realize that this foundation of this building was not done properly. It was just something, sand and dust and things were put under this building, and it was not properly done. Suddenly some scientist comes, engineer comes and declares. What will happen? People will run away from this building. They will find some other place to take shelter. They will say, we won't stay in here, we won't sit here, because anytime it may collapse. So this kind of lack of faith will develop. So this is what Swami says. All these faiths, which are Western faiths, are based upon the person's some life. Now what? If tomorrow it is proven that certain person did not exist, or he existed, but those things they never happened to him in the life of that person, what will happen? The entire building will collapse. And then what happens? Then the entire structure and the very civilization will collapse. So he is saying, that is why I am saying our Vedanta is the best. Why? Because Vedanta is based on eternal principles, eternal values. So those eternal principles and values are not dependent on any person's life, historicity or anything. But at the same time, our Vedanta provides so many personalities. There are so many personalities who come up from the bosom of the Vedantic religion, and they are equally powerful as a personalities, as ideals. But at the same time, if somebody says, even if we give away those personalities, suddenly we find that those personalities have disappeared or their historicity is no more proven. If we suddenly understand this, then what happens? No loss, somebody says. Vedanta is, because it is based on eternal principles, our personalities, even if tomorrow you prove that Rama or Krishna or Shiva or Vishnu or so on and so forth were not there at all, they are all just some imaginary beings. Even if you prove, then also we are unharmed. Our religion is unharmed. Because why? Because of Vedantic principles. They don't depend on any personality. That is what Swamiji's argument is. And then we discussed last time about how we have evolved with the theory of Ishta, which gives us the fullest and freest choice possible among these great religious personalities. Now what? They don't have a choice. They have only one person to worship. In our Vedantic religion, what? There are so many personalities. They keep coming up. Every yuga, every century, every decade, we get so many great saints and sages and avatars. They keep coming up. And we have a choice, free choice. You choose your own Ishta Devata. So that is the greatest strength of our religion, Vedantic religion, that it gives you free choice. You choose your own Ishta Devata. Another thing that we saw last time, before we proceed to the new passage, that last point that we discussed is how scientific also. Now another argument is that, which is always in the West it was like that, because why in the West those Protestant movements came, why those revolutionary Renaissance movements came, because they found that religion is totally against science. When the scientific development started coming in the Europe and America, mainly in Europe of course, originally, so then what happened, they found that the Catholic Christianity was totally against the scientific findings. When the Galileo was telling that the earth is round, a globe, then he was laughed at and he was imprisoned, because he is telling something which is not according to the Catholic traditional classical belief or opinion. So then what, Galileo was put it behind bars. And so there is a funny story about Galileo. What? So he was asked to come to the court of the king. And the king told him, Galileo, that he say, Galileo, if you declare now here on this thing that earth is not round but earth is flat. If you say so, I will release you. So Galileo says, okay, oh Lord, I am ready to say that the earth is flat, but still the reality is that earth is round. My saying will not change it. I am ready if you want me to say that earth is flat, then okay, I will say what is there. But if my saying will really change the reality, the truth, no. So he says that okay, I will say that earth is flat, but the reality is that. Then again he becomes angry, the king becomes, that you are cleverly trying to dissuade our this thing. Then they put him behind bar and he was sentenced to death or something. So the thing is that basically that they used to penalize those people, those scientists who want to tell the truth, the scientific findings. And this was the nature of their religion. And they are clinging to why? No, our is a person. One who was nailed to the cross. He is our idea. The earth is whatever it may be, earth, we don't care. So these kinds of very limited, narrow, these are they call us pagans. Very contradictory thing. How it is very ironical that the Western, those people, they call the Indians tribals. They call the pagans. Hinduism is a pagan religion, a tribal religion. Forest people, they throw their babies to the crocodiles and so on. And what your own self is, you are believing in such kinds of things, theories. And then the Protestantisms and so many Renaissance movements happen that they simply dump the church and the power of the church. And then that secularism and all these ideas that we are imbibing them. Those fightings of this whole religion and science and secularism, everything has happened long back there. And they are giving it up. And now we are so much embracing those things. So these things, kinds of things, how they very interesting to understand these things. Then Swamiji says that our Vedanta is very much scientific. Nobody can say that it contradicts science. Every finding of the Vedanta is very much goes along with the science. What is his argument to say? See, he says that there were two streams of human development happened in history. One went outward. It went on searching the truth outward in the material world, external world. And another one went to search for the truth inside. One that went outside was a Greek, and the one who went inside was a Hindu. So, but their findings, both of their findings were very much parallel to each other, very much concurrent to each other, their conclusions, Swami says. So that's why the only thing Swami says, it seems to us and to all who care to know that the conclusions of modern science are the very conclusions the Vedanta reached ages ago. Only in modern science they are written in the language of matter. Only that is the only difference. And this then is another claim of the Vedanta upon modern Western minds, its rationality, wonderful rationalism of the Vedanta. I have myself been told by some of the best Western scientific minds of the day how wonderfully rational the conclusions of the Vedanta are. I know one of them personally who scarcely has time to eat his meal and go out of his laboratory, but who yet would stand by the hour to attend my lectures on the Vedanta. So, who is the Tesla? Swamiji must have. Here it is not mentioned though, but it was Tesla who used to attend Swamiji's lectures and discuss with him about the findings. And he says that from such a person, such a great scientist, I heard that how those, he acknowledged that Vedantic truths are very much in harmonization with the findings of modern science. So we will continue. Two such scientific conclusions drawn from comparative religion, I would especially like to draw your attention to. The one bears upon the idea of the universality of religions, and the other on the idea of the oneness of things. We observe in the histories of Babylon and among the Jews an interesting religious phenomenon happening. We find that each of these Babylonian and Jewish peoples was divided into so many tribes, each tribe having a god of its own, and that these little tribal gods had often a generic name. The gods among the Babylonians were all called Baals, and among them Baal Merodach was the chief. In course of time, one of these many tribes would conquer and assimilate the other racially allied tribes, and the natural result would be that the god of the conquering tribe would be placed at the head of all the gods of the other tribes. Thus, the so-called boasted monotheism of the Semites was created. Among the Jews, the gods went by the name of Molochs. Of these, there was one Moloch who belonged to the tribe called Israel, and he was called the Moloch Yahweh or Moloch Yahweh. In time, this tribe of Israel slowly conquered some of the other tribes of the same race, destroyed their Molochs, and declared its own Moloch to be the supreme Moloch of all the Molochs. And I am sure most of you know the amount of bloodshed, of tyranny, of brutal savagery that this religious conquest entailed. Later on, the Babylonians tried to destroy the supremacy of Moloch Yahweh, but could not succeed in doing so. So see, this what we see now also. How the history repeats itself, what we see. That how that region has been always seeing the bloodshed for proving their religious supremacy or supremacy of their own God. So that religion of that surrounding that region of Jerusalem is still burning on the same lines. So this is from ancient times. This fight is between proving the supremacy between different gods is going on, and even now it is continuing. Only thing is what on one time the ball is in this court, and on the other time the ball is in other court. That is the only difference. Sometimes the ball will come into the Jewish people's court, and the other times the ball will go into the other tribes or other people's court. So this will continuously going on, and alternately they are proving their supremacy. This is going on since time infinite or immemorial, we can say, in a way. Because Swamiji is talking about a very old history, and he is taking lessons from that. So see how from the Semitic religion, how that monotheism came, that they used to prove. They used to conquer the other tribe, and they used to absorb that God into their own God and say, our God is now powerful. That's why our God is true. That is what is happening. Then he says, probably it seems to me that such an attempt at tribal self-assertion in religious matters might have taken place on the frontiers of India also. So he says, we can imagine probably India also had such kind of tribal assertion, self-assertion. Or maybe our tribes also might have. He says, well, let us imagine that they might also have fought for that. But he says, what is the difference? He quotes from. Here too, all the various tribes of the Aryan might have come into conflict with one another for declaring the supremacy of their several tribal gods. So he says, our Aryan tribes also might have fought like that. But India's history was to be otherwise, was to be different from that of the Jews. India alone was to be, of all lands, the land of toleration and of spirituality. And therefore, the fight between tribes and their gods did not long take place here. So it did not survive. If at all it had happened, if we imagine that it had happened, it did not survive long. Why? He tells the reason. For one of the greatest sages that was ever born, found out here in India, even at that distant time, which history cannot reach, he said. One of the sages, greatest sages, he was born. Nobody knows what his name is. And what he says, that only we know. What is that? And it's so age-old sage that we don't know how long back in the history he was there. And into whose group, even tradition itself dares not be. So our traditions also, if we trace back where they were started, they also cannot reach back to that kind of old history. So in that distant time, the sage arose and declared. What he declared? Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. He who exists is one. The sages call him variously. That was the motto given by that sage, given by that Vedic dictum. It is the oldest, one of the oldest Vedic dictums, that Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. This is one of the most memorable sentences that was ever uttered, one of the grandest truths that was ever discovered. And for us Hindus, this truth has been the very backbone of our national existence. For throughout the vistas of the centuries of our national life, this one idea, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti, comes down, gaining in volume and in fullness, till it has permeated the whole of our national existence, till it has mingled in our blood and has become one with us. So what he says, that idea, when it originated ages and ages and ages back, then what happened? It went on, coming down from the generation to generation, it went on percolating, spreading, propagating, permeating into our generations, our society, and it so much so that it mingled with our blood. Now all the Hindus, in their blood, in their genes, this idea is there. That is why they are so all embracing. That is what Swamiji will say later on. He will discuss later. And has become one with us, that idea. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. We are so much one with that idea, that's why we are so all embracing, all compassionate. We live the grand truth in every way, and our country has become the glorious land of religious toleration. It is here and here alone that they build temples and churches for the religions which have come with the object of condemning our own religion. So what happens? Those people have come to destroy our religion. For them, we have built churches and mosques, Swamiji says. This is because why? Because we have percolated, this idea has percolated in us, that Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. That is why we are great, that we built churches for them. This is historical fact that when those first Christians came, then our Indians built churches for them. When the first Muslims came, then our Indians, Hindus, built mosques for them. And what they did, they broke our temples. That is what the very irony of fate. This is one very great principle that the world is waiting to learn from us. Hey, you little know how much of intolerance is yet abroad. So see, he is saying that I have seen by my own eyes how the Western races and countries are intolerant. Now, if anything happens, now we hear now in our news that some American delegation or some American institute or American Congress or this discussion come up there in their Senate that India is very intolerant, that they will pass a resolution in their conferences and in their senates and Congress and all. What? That India has become very intolerant. That is what Swami says. You have been intolerant all through. I've seen from my own eyes that you are the main intolerant people, we are the tolerant people. We have built mosques and churches for you. And what? He will tell what you have done. It struck me more than once that I should have to leave my bones on foreign shores owing to the prevalence of religious intolerance. Swamiji told, many times I felt that they will kill me because I was telling something which was not palatable for them. So he's saying, how much intolerant you are. You could not tolerate this very much universal sannyasi, one who is giving the message of universal toleration and Vedantic message. You could not tolerate him also. So how much intolerant you are. Then he says, killing a man is nothing for religion's sake for you. For Western people, he says, you have nothing for you, killing a man for religion's sake. Tomorrow they may do it in the very heart of the boasted civilization of the West. If today they are not really doing so. He says, if today they are not doing so, they are already preparing. Tomorrow they may do it. So they are very much on the brink of doing all these religious persecutions, religious killings. So they should not teach us that we are intolerant. Then he says, outcasting in its most horrible forms would often come down upon the head of a man in the West if he dared to say a word against his country's accepted religion. Because what we see actually, if we study their constitutions and maximum Western countries, their constitutions and their very core government documents, everywhere they have written their affiliation to particular religion. Every country officially declares that we belong to either Christianity or Islam. So they directly they say like that. But he says, if somebody goes against that particular announced religion of yours, national religion, then what? You will kill that person. You are so much intolerant. Then he says, they talk glibly and smoothly here in criticism of our caste war. They say, you Hindus have nothing else apart from caste. You are casteist people, that they say. But Swamiji says, the Western people are more casteist than Indian people. So how he will say, he will explain it. If you go to the West and live there as I have done, you will know that even some of the biggest professors you hear of are arrant cowards and dare not say, for fear of public opinion, 100th part of what they hold to be really true in religious matters. So what he says, they are, even the biggest professors, all intellectuals, they also keep very much, they are afraid to speak out against their national religion. Whatever is officially declared religion is, they don't, because they are very much afraid, they know the risk of doing that. But in India there is no such risk, even now, forget about those days. Therefore, the world is waiting for this grand idea of universal toleration. It will be a great acquisition to civilization. Then, no civilization can grow unless fanaticism, bloodshed and brutality stop. We don't understand this, you see, that these races, that wars that we are seeing now, the war that is going on in Israel and the war that is going on in the Russia, that area, Europe and all those, what? They are not able to understand that let us stop this somewhere. Let us come to one universal toleration level and let us start building up humanity, human society. Let us work on the real core inner problems of humanity. That they are not able to understand. Still they are fighting like tribal people, they are fighting for their supremacy. They are not learning the lessons which India had learned long ages ago. And it had learned this lesson and still, since that time the Vedanta, they are following. Indian people, Hindus. What? Now we have learned that there is no use in conquering other things. There is no use fighting with other gods and anything. A comes up. One reality is there, one universal principle, eternal principle. Let us abide by that and work on our growth. Work on our inner growth now. How long we will be keeping fighting about the physical existence only, survival of the fittest? It is not going to work out. They learned, Indians and Hindus learned ages and ages ago. But what Westerns, they have not yet learned. They are not learning at all. The same mistakes, same things, they go on doing it. And we call them what? Intellectuals. We call them the advanced countries, we call them. This is what is their advancement, unfortunately. So, Swamiji is telling this. No civilization can grow unless this brutality stops. No civilization can begin to lift up its head until we look charitably upon one another And the first step towards that much needed charity is to look charitably and kindly upon the religious convictions of others. You have to accept everybody's path, whatever way he prays, but you should not force him to pray in your own way. That is very much blasphemous. Nay, more, to understand that not only should we be charitable but positively helpful to each other, however different our religious ideas and convictions may be. And that is exactly what we do in India, as I have just related. Swami says, we have built mosques and churches for you. What is so much? Can you understand the extremity of our toleration? The extremity of our acceptance that we are doing, the way you want to pray, we are arranging those things for you. What else you want? Toleration means. So this is what he is saying. And it is here in India that Hindus have built and are still building churches for Christians and mosques for Mohammedans. That is the thing to do. Why is saying he is praising the great Hindu mind? In spite of their hatred, in spite of their brutality, in spite of their cruelty, in spite of their tyranny, in spite of their vile language they are given to uttering, we will and must go on building churches for the Christians and mosques for the Mohammedans until we conquer through love. Because that is their nature. They will just keep on dividing, harming, vilifying, abusing others. That is their nature. But we should not become like that. We are Hindus. We have already realized that A comes up, Vipra Bodha. What? We should still, okay. We will still spread love. We will not hate. That is what is thing. Until we have demonstrated to the world that love alone is the fittest thing to survive and not hatred. That it is gentleness that has the strength to live on and to fructify and to not mere brutality and physical force. Why? Because it is proven that survival of the fittest, survival of the muscular force is of no use. That is, history has proven it now and again. But you are not learning from that lesson. So that is what he is saying. Only love and compassion and empathy and kindness and gentleness, these ideas that were practiced in India have survived. Nobody could kill Indian civilization, obliterate it, destroy it throughout the history. You are blaming that we are weak people, Hindus are weak, they don't have muscle strength. But still we are surviving. And all your so-called muscle strength, where is the Roman muscle strength? Where is the Greek muscle strength? Where is the Egyptian muscle strength? How? Nobody knows the names also. Massive empires and everything gone. No, nobody knows about it. But Indians, it is unobstructedly, continuously flowing traditional civilization is there. Intact. Those people you are blaming us, you don't have any muscle strength, you have not conquered anybody, you have not attacked anybody. What you are doing? You are having no strength. You are not fit to survive. That is the Western law for survival of the fittest. Because they are the people of the jungle. In jungle, that law is okay. That lion can survive only because of its power. The deer cannot survive. But this is not human life is not a jungle life. This religious life especially. The one who wants to evolve in religion, he comes much above the jungle life. And this law of survival of the fittest. One more paragraph I will cover. The other great idea that the world wants from us today, the thinking part of Europe, nay, the whole world, more perhaps the lower classes than the higher, more the masses than the cultured, more the ignorant than the educated, more the weak than the strong, is that eternal grand idea of the spiritual oneness of the whole universe. Who is wanting from this idea from us is not only the Europe, but more lower classes want this idea more. The masses want it more now, this idea of, the ignorant want it more, this idea of spiritual oneness. Why? Because they have been separated all, they have been tyrannized, they have been trampled, so they want this to be called one, one with all. So they want this idea more desperately. I need not tell you today, men from Madras University, though he is talking in Kumbakonam, he is saying, those people in the audience, he is saying, oh, men from Madras University, how the modern researchers of the West have demonstrated through physical means the oneness and the solidarity of the whole universe. How, physically speaking, you and I, the sun, moon, and stars are but little waves or wavelets in the midst of an infinite ocean of matter. How Indian psychology demonstrated ages ago that, similarly, both body and mind are but mere names or little wavelets in the ocean of matter. the samashti. And how, going one step further, it is also shown in the Vedanta that behind that idea of the unity of the whole show, the real soul is one. There is but one soul throughout the universe. All is but one existence. This great idea of the real and basic solidarity of the whole universe has frightened many, even in this country, Swami said. The idea that is most needed now for everybody, for the masses, for the ignorant people, for the weak people, and for the Western people, the more necessary idea has frightened even the people of the place where this idea originated, of India. Even the Indian people, where this idea first came out, they are also frightened at this idea of oneness of existence. This has become our plight. He says, it even now finds sometimes more opponents than adherents. Even the idea of Advaita in India itself finds more opponents than adherents. Shankaracharya had to fight so many people, right from the very extremity of the south till the extremity of the north he travelled. From east to west he travelled, and everywhere only one thing he had to do, to break down those arguments of opponents and to prove that only solidarity of this existence or oneness of this universe. Shankaracharya had to do this more than 1,000 years ago. So, if this is the place India had to struggle with this idea, where it originated, so what to talk about other countries? So you can imagine. Then Swami says, I tell you nevertheless that it is the one great life-giving idea which the world wants from us today, and which the mute masses of India want for their uplifting. For none can regenerate this land of ours without the practical application and effective operation of this ideal of the oneness of things. Swamiji has brainstormed, Swamiji has seen out of his realizations, out of his depths of his rishihood. Swamiji is a rishi, he sees. He has seen during his wanderings, he has gone through the society of India and he went to the West. He studied the Western civilization. He has studied and actually drunk the whole history of all the humanity. Swamiji has, and through his subtle eyes, through his pure eyes, through his spiritual eyes, he has looked at this whole world and he has studied the problem of humanity. How this problem can be solved? He brainstormed. Whenever he went across the world, he is not a tourist. He did not go to the West as a tourist, to America, just let us go this Diwali, let us go to US tour, we will do 1 month tour. No, he had not gone to tour America and go to see the Niagara Falls and all those things. He did not go there for that. He went there for different purpose. And whenever Swamiji like person goes, a seer, a man of realization goes anywhere, he doesn't go for tourism. He goes for what? To understand the problems of humanity and to help them, how he can help them. Whenever a sage, a rishi, a sadhu, a spiritual soul goes any place for that matter, it may be a tirtha or it may not be a tirtha, any city or any town. Whenever he goes, he sees and observes the people there. What is the culture of those people? What is the religion of those people? What are the psychological problems of those people? What are the needs, material, spiritual needs of those people? He keeps on studying. He meditates on that. And out of that meditation, he brings out a solution. What is the thing that if I give them, this will solve the problem of their society? That is what Swamiji studied. And when he went to America, he did the same thing. He found out, he tried to understand the problems of the Americans and he gave them the solutions which are fit for them. When he came back to India, he is giving different solutions which is fit for Indians. So everybody according to their adhikara, according to their aptitude, according to their readiness, he is giving the solutions. And according to their own problems. Because everybody's problems are different. But now what we are doing, we are making everybody, we are in the same boat. Now, if somebody is taller, then his head will be cut. And somebody is shorter, that the taller person's head will be put on the shorter person and the height will be made same. That is what the modern civilization is. That everybody should be equal, all are equal. It cannot be so. You cannot make everybody in the same height. You cannot put the same code of the same measurement to every person. Everybody's measurement is different. So this is what they understand and they give the solution. And this is what Swami is coming out. But what is the crux of all this? You need not be equal on the surface. So on the surface everybody is different. But on the crux, on the center, on the very on the very source, all are same. All are same of the same principle, eternal principle of Vedanta. That is, we are eternal soul, infinite, immortal. That is what we have to come back to. That is the solution, Swami says, of all the problems of society today. And that we will discuss in the next class. That is why the lecture is titled Mission of the Vedanta. What is the mission? Mission is to solve the problems of society. And Vedanta is the only religion, Swami is saying very emphatically. See, Swami is telling very bluntly that I am telling, he is taking the names of religions that are existing and telling this is the only religion that can give you it is the best religion. It is not a diplomatic statement. It is not some this thing. It is not a fanatic. Swami says, I am not talking about fanaticism, that because it is my Vedanta, I am preaching. No. I am proving it with arguments that Vedanta alone can solve the problem. And that we will see. We will continue next time. What solutions Swamiji offers. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Namastu.